He didn't notice me at first. They never do. That's one of the things about being plain. You often get ignored. By the way, it's not true that if you turn into a vampire, you automatically become beautiful. I'm just as dull and unbeautiful as I was alive. The only difference now is that my hair refuses to hold color for any length of time, so I'm constantly redying it. Today, however, that plainness was working in my favor. I was practically standing right next to him, yet he was so oblivious to my presence, I could have punched him in the nose, and he wouldn't have been the wiser. I didn't want to punch him, though. I wanted to kill him. But not here. Not now. I watched as he stooped over to put his briefcase in his car, all 6'4" of him. He was a foot taller than me, and quite handsome. He had dark brown hair, a chiseled jaw, and lovely blue eyes. They weren't really blue. He had an unfathomable obsession with colored contacts, and his eyes changed hue more often than Paris Hilton changed handbags. He slammed the door to his BMW a little too hard and peeled away from the curb in alarming fashion. A bit irritating, really. I wanted him dead, just not like that. Regardless, he'd officially had the last spat he would ever have with his mistress. Oops, sorry. I meant secretary. It was the typical forbidden lovers' quarrel. "When are you going to tell your wife about us?"
"Don't hound me. I can't handle this right now."
"But you said you loved me. Don't you love me?"
"I'm not dealing with this."
Cue slamming of door and sobbing of delusional administrative assistant. I glanced at my watch. It would take him 45 minutes to get home. I watched him round the corner and walked over to the frozen yogurt stand. "Blueberry burst, please." I settled on a bench and enjoyed the creamy deliciousness. 15 minutes later, I was weaving through traffic on the highway. I'm one of those drivers most people hate. If there's a gap just big enough for my car, I'm in it and gone before you can blink. Halfway to the target's house, I spotted his car stuck in a knot of traffic. It was wall to wall. There was no way I was getting through. But then again, neither was he. Jacking my steering wheel to the right, I veered out onto the shoulder of the road and gunned the engine. The cars beside me blurred into a colorful line, some blaring their horns at the crazy lady who was whipping past them. A cop turned on his lights, but he was jammed between two SUVs, and he wasn't going anywhere. The next exit led to a series of back roads that would have taken any normal person even longer. I'm not normal. I reached his house about 10 minutes before he arrived, giving me plenty of time to recap what I knew about him. On a typical day, he got home and sat in the car for a few minutes while he checked for lipstick smears, perfume stench, and other telltale signs of his blatant infidelity. Then he'd walk into the house, carrying whatever gift he'd bought to assuage his guilty conscience. Sometimes it was flowers, sometimes chocolates. This time, it was a pearl necklace worth more than the car I owned when I was alive. Usually, when he got inside, his son would immediately run to greet him. It wasn't the boy's fault. He was only 4, still too young to realize what a bastard his father was. The man's daughter, however, couldn't care less about her doting daddy. She lovingly referred to him as Mr. Doucheburn. Get it? His last name is Washburn. Well, I thought it was funny. His beautiful, blonde, too young for him wife was typically in the kitchen making supper. It rarely tasted good, and it almost always was burned or undercooked. But she was hot and a tiger in the sack, so he wasn't ready to let her go just yet. But he wasn't greeted by his loving son, bitter daughter, or cookie-cutter wife that fateful evening. You see, while she looked like the token blonde bimbo, usually snagged by guys who feel like they have something to prove, Becky was actually shrewdly calculating and sharp as a tack.